Just a few short months ago, we found this rare international scout. And I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about that one right back there. Now you might ask, what would make this one so rare? Well, this here is a United States Postal Service scout. They only made about 7,900 of these bad boys. And it looks like it's been painted over a time or two. As you can see here, this one here has been off the road for 50 years. Apparently back in the late 60s, the US government approached International with the US postal contract. And a few of the requirements they had for these vehicles were, of course, right-hand drive, which this one has, as well as an automatic transmission. International did not have that until, I believe, about 71, other than the postal vehicles. As we look inside here, you can see the original colors, the dark blue with the white top, and then you can see the red stripe peeking through on the side here. Be kind of cool if we could take some of this paint off of there and get those colors to come back through. Now this other one here we bought off the same property, somewhat as a package deal with that one. This one here is a four-wheel drive. It's a bit rough, but it is complete. There is a motor in it, and I think we'll be able to use whatever parts we need off of it to try to get that one running. We'll see, who knows, maybe we can get them both running. Now inside this one, you have your basic International Scout setup. Super simple interior, manual transmission, twin stick transfer case. We've got the rear seat in here, and it looks like a bunch of other goodies that we'll have to dig through. Now under the hood of the postal truck, we have a 4-cylinder. Off first glance, it looks like there's a bunch of pieces missing. Distributor is missing the cap and rotor. With a fan sitting over there, that's not good. Looks like we got a lot of pack rat action in here. There you go, look at that. Brake master cylinder on the right side. I have no idea if this thing turns over yet. There's no belts on it. We'll see if we can throw a wrench on it in a minute. The water pump feels like it's seized up, so that's off to a great start. And then under the hood of the four-wheel drive unit, we have a motor that looks a lot more complete and a little cleaner. Same 4-cylinder motor. We already did take the distributor out of this since we knew we had to use it in the other Scout. This one here's got a generator on it, whereas the other one had an alternator. And since the fan is on this one, let's see if we can get any movement out of that crank. It doesn't appear like we are. So, that's 2 locked up motors. We have some work to do here. Now, since neither of these motors appear to be spinning free by hand, I believe I'll start by throwing some Marvel Mystery Oil down the cylinders. There is one thing I did not notice on the motor in this mail truck here. There's no spark plugs in it, and that is usually a very bad sign. I may have said it before, but if you're gonna let a vehicle sit, leave those spark plugs in there. It just gives opportunity for moisture and or critters to get in those holes. If any of you saw the Falcon wagon video I did a while back, you'll know what I'm talking about. We're gonna have to start by doing a little shop vacuum and possibly even trying to take a peek in there with a bore scope, make sure there's nothing funky in those cylinders. Now, as I go to check these cylinders here with my bore scope, it seems like all I see is fluid, and as I pull it out, this thing seems to be covered in oil. So I don't know if they put a bunch of oil down these cylinders when they tucked it away in the weeds. Maybe. I've did that on pretty much all of them now, and they all appear to have some kind of oily substance in them. I think what I'll do is just add a little bit more Mystery Oil to all of them and let it sit for a bit. Down the hatch for number 1. Two, a little extra, number 3 here. Here we go. Now moving on to the donor rig here, we'll get all these plugs pulled. That actually don't look too bad. Also not that bad for number 2. And 3, pretty much the same. No moisture in any of these cylinders so far. And number 4 was a little rusty and tough to get out, but also dry. So this motor's looking a lot better in the donor rig here. Let's go ahead and do a quick fluid check, starting with the postal rig. Doesn't look too bad. A little over full. Doesn't look like there's moisture in it, really. There's definitely no coolant in there. We've got a little bit of debris down in the radiator as well that I can see. So the cap of that thing was sitting off while they stored it as well. And since this one has an automatic trans, we've got a dipstick here. There is fluid on it, but there was a lot of junk on the stick too. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's fluid on there. Smells a little smoky, but still looks red. So we can hope for the best. And now for the donor rig. Oil. That's looking pretty good. Nice dark oil. Doesn't look like there's any moisture in it. Looks like they probably just parked this thing and left it. Won't be any dipstick for the trans since we've got a manual trans in this one. Let's check the radiator out. Dry, just as I would have suspected. Cap's a little crusty, but at least there was a cap on this one. Let's go ahead and throw a little bit of Marvel in this one as well. All right, now we can let these things sit and hopefully we'll be able to get them turning over here within a day or two. Both Scouts have now been sitting overnight with the Marvel Mist Oil in the cylinders. It's time to see if either of these motors will turn over, to see if we have at least one salvageable motor to get this Postal Scout going. Now I'm going to go ahead and dive down below, but I drew some yellow marks on the crank pulley down there. Let's see if we can get her to move. Wow, that thing is locked up tight. Now for the donor Scout. I also put some yellow paint on the crank pulley right there. Let's see if this one turns over for us. Oh yes, okay. That one's turning. It didn't go all the way around, but it is spinning free. I definitely think I can get this one to go. There it goes. This one's probably just got a bad ring ridge. It's got to bust past. There it goes. Yep. All right, we got full rotation out of this one. Okay, we're on day 3 of letting the Postal Scout soak with Mr. Oil. Still trying to get it to turn over. And I have not got this thing to budge yet. I've just been trying it off and on for the last couple days whenever I had time. And so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get this one to spin. It doesn't budge at all. But before we throw in the towel, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the cover off of the flex plate. We're going to see if we can put a pry bar on there. All right, let's see about getting this flex plate cover off of here. And that gives us access to our flex plate here. I'm not sure, but we're gonna try to grab these teeth with the crowbar and pry on a little bit. See if we can get a little leverage. Maybe we can get this thing to budge for us. Wow, that thing's tight. So I couldn't get it to turn over with the crank pulley, couldn't get it to turn over with the flex plate. While I'm down here, I figured, why not pull this oil pan? I've already got the oil drained out. Remember how this one looked pretty clean when we checked the dipstick? There was actually quite a bit of water in it, and it was a lot darker when it came out of the drain plug. Okay, we should be loose. Yep, there we are. It doesn't look as bad on the bottom here. The bottom of this oil pickup tube is nasty though. A lot of sludge. In the pan, quite a bit of sludge. You can kind of see it's a little watery in there. It doesn't look as bad as I expected it to, I guess. You can kind of see up into that cylinder. You can see the camshaft up there. Up into that cylinder and that one. You see some rust on the cylinder wall. That cylinder wall looks pretty crusty. Like I said, camshaft don't look too bad. A lot better than I thought. Now I think the last thing I'm going to do on this motor, before I decide we may just want to use the donor motor out of the other Scout there, I'm going to pull this valve cover. Let's see what it looks like underneath here. Really don't want to pull the head, even though it appears like the pistons are what's keeping this thing stuck. Okay, that should be it. Yep. There we go. Yeah, that really doesn't look too bad. So here's the rockers. It doesn't really look too crusty underneath here. If we could just get those pistons free, this thing would probably spin over no problem. Well, in operation, trying to not pull the head, I've been letting this thing soak for about 2 weeks now with concoction in the cylinders of transmission fluid and acetone. And this thing is just not budging. And I do think that we have decided that we may go ahead and just pull this head. So before we go ahead and do that, I think I'm going to redirect my attention over to the 4-wheel drive Scout out here. We'll see what we can do about getting that one running first. At least then, as a backup plan, we know if we know that motor's good, we can dive into this one, pull a bunch of parts off of it, and see what it's going to take for us to get this one turning over. But still have the ease of mind knowing that we got a good running motor right over there. So let's go check that thing out and see what it's going to take to get her going. So first thing I did was throw a battery in, since we know this one spins over. Then I can jump in the cab here. We'll get behind this switch, since we have no key, see if we can't get power to the starter wire. Okay, so I think I've got my power wire there. And yep, we've got power. And this should be my starter wire. Let's see here. Yep, she's turning over. Now, obviously we need to stab this distributor back in here. I believe I've got the motor at top dead center right now. I'm gonna throw this thing back in and then we can test to see if we have spark. I had to dig a little bit to find my ignition wire, but I finally found it. So I have power at my points now. And we have spark going through our plug wires. Yeah. So I'm going to throw these plugs back in, which I've already cleaned up. And we're going to see if we can't get this thing to pop off for us here a minute. Give her a shot. Oh. Hold on. Go again. Not doing much. We think maybe it was 180 out, so we switched the wires around. We're gonna give her another go. Yep. So I'm about to call it quits for the night, but I wanted to try one more thing. It was popping, sounded like it wanted a fire. It just didn't seem like I could get enough fuel in there. And I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and try hooking up the boat tank. I got it all hooked up now. I just got to plug the wire in here, and then we'll go give it another shot, see if a little more fuel does the trick. Let's plug her in now. And here we go. All right, so we got a runner. Hopefully tomorrow maybe we can check to see if we can get it running a little longer, stay running on its own, see if the transmission works. Maybe take her for a little rip. Obviously, I doubt this thing has brakes, but at least we know we got a good running motor here. At this point, it's kind of a backup plan for the mail truck. I am going to be heading back over to that thing. I'm going to pull that head. We're going to see what's holding that thing up, and we'll continue back on tomorrow. All right, let's dig in. So there she is. There's something in there, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's just a piece of gasket. I'll suck out the fluid and we'll take a closer look. There's a bunch of junk in that one. This one here, pretty crusty looking, but I guess not too bad. And that one I can't really see yet. But if you look up here, that's in the lifter valley. Look at that. That is crazy. Something was living in there. And then here's the head. Also super crusty. It doesn't look too good. I'm gonna have to do a lot of cleanup here. Now if you look here, there may have been a mouse or something in here and the acetone ate them up, I'm not sure. This one as well. Looks like there was quite possibly something in there. And then this one even more. This one has some nasty stuff down in there. We're gonna have to shop back all that out and see how them pistons look. Well, I gotta say, I thought they'd look a lot worse than that. They don't look too bad. Now there's a little bit of pitting on them. The back one looks probably the best out of the four. Now to try to break this thing free, I'm using a combination of heat, penetrating fluid, and pressure. And along with putting a socket on the crank, I'm also using the starter to put some pressure on the flex plate here and just trying that every once in a while. So far, haven't had much success, but we're gonna keep going at this thing and see if we can't get this thing broke free. So trying to get this motor broke free is going pretty well. I'm pulling this radiator now. I gotta make more room. Not only be able to get a better shot on the crank pulley, but possibly to pull this motor. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to keep diving deeper into this thing. And there you go. We have a lot better access to the crank pulley now. I can either pull that pulley off of the dampener, which is it's just screwed on there with those 4 screws, or I can just get better access with a socket. That's it. We're pulling out all the stops and we're breaking out the big guns. I ain't asking anymore. That's it. I'm throwing in the towel. We're pulling this motor. I'm throwing the donor motor in here. This thing's taking way too much time. I've got to yank this thing out of here. We got to get going. So I'd like to try to flip this rig around here so that we're nose to nose for the engine swap. I don't think I have a clutch, and it's not looking very promising in the slave cylinder there. So I may have to try to start this thing in gear and just try to see if I can baby it around the corner, hopefully flip it around. Let's see if I can make it happen. Well, it did not move in gear. I'm in low range on the transfer case. Maybe I'll try. Oh, there we go. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. Better turn a little bit. Perfect. I'm going to adjust my choke a little bit here. Throw it in reverse now. There we go. Yes. Okay. I think that'll be perfect right about there. So it's all back together. I did throw a new set of spark plugs in as well. At this point, I've got to start changing fluids out or adding fluids to the radiator, transmission and whatnot. I still don't know if the transmission works or if we have brakes, so we got to tackle that next. I was hoping to use the factory fuel tank, but unfortunately there was so many pinholes in the pickup tube, I just couldn't get any fuel to come through it. I ended up rigging something up with the boat tank. We're just going to roll with that for now. Here's a quick clip of me draining that fuel tank and trying to see what kind of shape it's in. I guess it's time to see what shape this fuel tank's in. And this one here has got a handy dandy drain plug. I always like that. Ooh, that does not look good. That looks like it's gonna be gummed up. And it stinks. Now I'm just gonna dump a little bit of fuel down the tank here. I've got the plug out just to see if this kind of loosens things up a little bit and drains things out a little better. It's dripping. It's not flowing out though. It looks like she broke free a little bit. It's starting to come out a little better. All right, let's get some fluids in this thing. Oil's looking good. Trans is in a decent range. We'll have to add to that as we test it out if it works. I guess we're at the point where we can see if this transmission works. So let me see if I get this thing fired up and we'll throw it in gear, see if anything happens. Runs good. Throw it in reverse. Oh! Oh! It is working. Obviously no brakes. Neutral. Drive. Yes. Might be a little low in fluid yet, but that is awesome. Speedometer works too. Got good oil pressure, about 40 pounds right now. Wow, I did not expect that to work that well. Neutral, reverse again. Okay, we might be getting low on fluid. There's low. I'm gonna run it through all the gears a minute and then we'll go top off the fluid again. All right, back in park. All right, we've got more fluid in there now. Reverse. Let her go through a little bit, circulate the fluid. Neutral. Drive. Low. Boy, that's working great. I don't know if it shifted through the gears yet, but back in reverse. Okay, I'm gonna throw her in neutral. All right, transmission's working. That's awesome. I guess now I can jump onto the brakes. I don't have a temp gauge. It looks like it just has a temp light. I'm not sure if it's hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead and shut her back down, and we'll go ahead and check all those fluids again. Everything seems to be coming around. Let's jump onto those brakes and see if we can get those working too. I'll start by pulling the cover off this master cylinder, and then I'm actually going to pull all the wheels off of here. We have a new set of wheels and tires we're going to put on it. These ones here are just too crusty, and then it'll give me a little better access to the bleeders as well. So let's see what it looks like inside this master. The outside of it looks pretty crusty. Well, there is still fluid in there. It's pretty dirty. We'll see if we can get it to pump through with some new fluid. I'll suck that out with the shop vac and get to pumping. Now, as I said, we're going to remove these wheels and tires here. Managed to get all the bleeders broke free. Let me shop vac this out. We're going to throw some new fluid in and start pumping. Feels like my pedal's kind of stuck. Well, I wasn't able to get fluid out of the backs. There must be a blockage or something. I could not get that pedal to go down when I was trying to bleed the backs out. I did, however, get fluid out of the fronts. I don't know if it'll be enough. We might have to figure out, maybe the soft line back here is all closed up. Sometimes they swell up in the middle and you can't get fluid through them. So I'm going to put some tires back on here. We're going to see if the fronts will hold it back enough to where we can actually drive this thing. The master does seem fine. It bled out fine in the front. Let's throw a new set of wheels and tires on here and drop this thing on the ground so we could try and test her out. Now, we had two options for wheels here with this lug pattern. The first one is these, what are these, 20s? Yeah, 20-inch wheels. And then we got these basic steel wheels, which I think suit this thing a little better, so I think I'm gonna throw these on. Oh yeah, that's looking good. I like those wheels on there. What do you think? Did we pick the right ones, or should we go with something like that? Maybe if we were gonna lower it or something. But this thing, it looks pretty good. It's on the ground, so I guess now I should do a little brake check. Throw it in gear a minute and just see if it stops itself. Here's reverse. Oh, it does seem to slow it down. Neutral, drive. Yeah, the front brakes are holding it. Okay. It would be better if we had rear brakes, but they do stop it, but I can tell they're not going to be great. Yeah, maybe. I believe we're at the point where we're ready to go try this thing out. So let's fire it up and go see how she does. Still locked up on a tire. Yeah, we're dragging a tire for sure. So there you go. That front tire is locked up. We made marks all the way out there. I just pushed it. Kind of was hoping it would break free, but it didn't. So I'm gonna have to jack this one up and see what's holding it up here. All right, so I got everything tore apart here, and I think I found out why it was getting seized up. The shoe, or the pad off the shoe, is actually, it's stuck inside of the drum here. We may have to just go pick up new shoes, replace that one, probably just replace them both since we're in here, and hopefully then we could be back on the road. All right, we're all back together and rolling good. Here we go. She runs, just not very well. She drives, but only has about one gear, maybe two. I couldn't really tell if it was shifting or not. And I wouldn't say it stops, it more like slows it down enough to come to a full stop. So obviously this thing needs a lot more work. Unfortunately, that's going to do it for this video. It was a pretty unique experience to be able to get to work on one of these things. I've never seen one. If you've seen one, let me know. We're most likely going to be sending this one down the road to a new owner. We plan on selling it on the Bring a Trailer website within the next week or two. Feeling cute, might go no reserve. Check it out. That was a bit of a sketchy drive, but it was fun. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, and we'll see you on the next one.